5 minutes ago, an extraordinary claim began sweeping across Britain. A claim so explosive that it has pulled the entire country into a frenzy of disbelief, anger, and confusion. Rumors erupted suggesting that the UK Parliament had just voted on a move so drastic, so historically unprecedented, that it immediately dominated every conversation across Westminster and every trending feed online. The alleged permanent exile of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from the United Kingdom. The moment the headline surfaced, political reporters froze. Social media erupted. Royal commentators scrambled for confirmation. Was this a genuine vote? A symbolic motion? A procedural misunderstanding? Or something far more calculated? A political message disguised as legislative action? For a nation already divided in its feelings toward the Sussexes, the mere idea of Parliament debating such an extreme measure was enough to ignite shockwaves. Some see it as justice long overdue. Others view it as an outrageous attack on civil rights. But everyone is asking the same question. What really happened inside those chambers today? As the noise grows louder, the palace remains silent. MPs refuse to comment. And the world waits for clarity. Tonight, we uncover the truth behind the rumor, and why this moment may be the most volatile turning point yet in the ongoing saga of Harry and Meghan. The first indication that something unusual was unfolding came not from the public galleries or the press benches, but from the quiet, narrow corridor behind Committee Room 4, a place where whispers often carry more weight than speeches delivered on the Parliament floor. Staffers, who typically move with mechanical calm, suddenly began exchanging glances, clutching papers as if they contained something too volatile to be spoken aloud. Within minutes, a murmur soft but sharp rippled through the building. There's emotion about the Sussexes. Not a policy debate, not a routine question session. Something pointed, emotional, and politically loaded. The kind of moment that instantly seizes attention because it blurs the boundary between governance and spectacle. What happened next felt like watching a spark land in a dry forest. The rumor, initially dismissed as yet another exaggerated royal headline, quickly escalated into claims that a vote had occurred to permanently bar Harry and Meghan from entering Britain. Journalists stationed outside the central lobby reported receiving cryptic messages from aides hinting that a symbolic proposal had been read but refused to clarify whether a count or tally had actually taken place. In a political environment already tense with economic concerns, immigration debates, and foreign policy pressure, it seemed almost absurd that the Sussexes could suddenly become the focal point of parliamentary chatter. And yet, within the walls of Westminster, absurdity often becomes reality the moment public sentiment demands a distraction. As the whispers intensified, senior MPs began appearing in unexpected places, emerging from committee rooms earlier than scheduled or stepping away from meetings to consult hurriedly with advisors. Their expressions revealed everything: concern, frustration, and a hint of disbelief that something once viewed as tabloid fantasy had infiltrated formal political dialogue. Some insisted this was merely a review of public petitions, many of which had grown increasingly aggressive toward the couple, while others suggested there was genuine appetite among a small group of backbenchers to push for a bold statement reflecting the nation's divided feelings. Whether serious or theatrical, the fact that such a discussion had made its way into a parliamentary setting created an undeniable sense of crisis. Outside the building, news vans lined the street as broadcasters prepared for what could become the biggest political royal crossover story of the year. Every network wanted one thing: clarity. Did a vote happen? If so, what did it mean? The problem was that no one inside Westminster wanted to be the first to confirm or deny anything. Precision gave way to speculation, and speculation quickly became fuel for viral headlines. Social media accounts with millions of followers began posting that Parliament had acted decisively, while others accused politicians of weaponizing the couple for political gain. The absence of immediate clarification created the perfect storm: a nation left to interpret silence as confirmation. Meanwhile, inside the Commons, the atmosphere grew more fragmented. Aides hurried between offices, carrying documents stamped with confidential markings. Private conversations behind partially closed doors spilled into the corridor, revealing snippets of frustration such as, This is going too far. And why was this even allowed to be tabled? Veteran MPs privately expressed embarrassment that the institution was now entangled in what should have remained a public relations debate rather than a governmental matter. Still, some maintained that the Sussex issue had long passed the point of privacy. They argued that when royal affairs have global consequences affecting Britain's image, diplomacy, and even political narratives, Parliament can no longer ignore the ripple effects. By mid-afternoon, the rumor had morphed into a narrative. People wanted accountability. They wanted names, motives, and confirmation. The idea that elected officials might consider Exile a word historically associated with monarchs banishing rivals or dissidents sent historians scrambling to compare precedents. The reality, however, remained far more bureaucratic. At most, a symbolic motion may have been drafted or mentioned, possibly inspired by public frustration and viral petitions. But symbolic motions are not votes. They are not policy. They are political expressions meant to capture public sentiment, not dictate legal action. And yet the public, increasingly weary of the Sussex saga, did not care about distinctions. They wanted answers, and the emptiness between rumor and reality allowed imaginations to run wild. In the midst of this frenzy, one critical detail became clear: no official record, no Hansard entry, and no parliamentary announcement confirmed any such vote. Yet the absence of proof only seemed to amplify belief. In the digital age, silence speaks louder than statements. For many, the lack of immediate denial felt like validation. Surely, they thought, if the rumors were false, Parliament would shut them down instantly. But institutions move slower than social media firestorms. And today, those few minutes of delay created a global wave. By the time evening approached, the narrative had become self-sustaining. Commentators debated constitutional limits. Analysts questioned political motives. Citizens argued over whether the couple deserved loyalty, scrutiny, or distance. And somewhere in the thick fog of speculation, the original spark, a whispered mention of a symbolic motion, vanished beneath layers of interpretation, outrage, and emotional rhetoric. What happened in Westminster today was not the passing of a law, nor the execution of royal punishment. Instead, it was the collision of political frustration, public fatigue, and emotional storytelling. A collision powerful enough to make millions believe Parliament had taken one of the most extreme actions in modern British history, even though the truth was buried beneath the noise. While Westminster buzzed with tension and unverified whispers, the atmosphere inside Buckingham Palace carried a very different kind of electricity, quieter, colder, but far more controlled. The palace, unlike Parliament, does not rush, does not scramble, and does not respond to rumors. It observes. It calculates. It maintains the discipline of an institution that has survived wars, abdications, scandals, and centuries of political upheaval. But despite that stoic exterior, sources familiar with internal communications say the rumor that Parliament had voted to exile Harry and Meghan was received with a seriousness that surprised even veteran courtiers. The first alert reportedly reached the palace's private communications team through monitoring channels used to track breaking media narratives. The headline was so shocking, so extreme, that the initial reaction was simple disbelief. Surely this was another exaggeration, another tabloid creation wrapped in dramatic language. Yet within minutes, those same headlines began multiplying across platforms, each one more sensational than the last. And although the palace has weathered thousands of wild stories throughout its history, this one struck a nerve, not because it was real, but because it represented a growing trend the monarchy could no longer ignore. Inside the palace walls, staff gathered in hushed clusters, scrolling through the erupting digital storm. Some were concerned about the optics, others about the legal implications of staying silent while a narrative spiraled out of control. But the most senior advisors understood immediately what was at stake: perception. Not law, not policy. Perception. The one battlefield modern monarchies can no longer afford to lose. King Charles, known for his measured temperament and deep sensitivity toward the institution's stability, was reportedly briefed shortly after lunch. Those present say he listened calmly, without visible anger or panic, but his silence, a long, contemplative silence, conveyed what words did not. He had hoped that the storm surrounding Harry and Meghan would gradually fade, that time and distance would heal the fractures between the monarchy and the couple's passionate supporters and critics. Instead, the feud remained a wound that reopened every few months, often through headlines that felt larger than life. Significantly, Charles has deliberately avoided escalating conflicts by directly responding to controversies involving Harry. His philosophy has been simple. The monarchy must appear steady even when individuals fracture. But today's rumor was not about family disagreements or media arguments. It was about Parliament, the heart of British democracy, becoming entangled in what should remain private tension. For a monarch who values constitutional respect above all, this was a worrying development. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla's office, which often handles delicate internal coordination, began assessing whether misinformation risked damaging the monarchy's reputation abroad. For years, international audiences have followed Harry and Meghan's journey with intense fascination, often viewing the couple through a lens of sympathy or controversy depending on personal beliefs. The sudden rumor that Britain might move to exile, them risk painting the monarchy as vindictive or politically aggressive, something Charles could not allow, especially during a period where his health and the future of the crown are scrutinized more than ever. Senior courtiers debated whether to issue a subtle statement reminding the public that Parliament does not decide the presence or absence of royal family members. But another faction insisted that giving the rumor attention would breathe even more life into it. They argued that this storm, like all others, would pass if the palace maintained its traditional silence. That silence, however, created an unintended consequence, without a royal voice clarifying the situation. Online speculation grew even more intense. Inside Clarence House and Kensington Palace, staff connected to the offices of Prince William and Queen Camilla reportedly exchanged updates with mounting concern. William, who has taken on increasing responsibility as Charles continues to navigate health challenges, is known for being far less tolerant of chaos linked to royal image management. For him, protecting the institution means ensuring that political bodies do not appear involved in personal family matters. And today's rumor, with its explosively dramatic framing, risked blurring that line. Still, the palace refused to respond, instead opting for what insiders call the dignified silence protocol. Under this approach, the monarchy does not engage unless the rumor becomes an outright diplomatic risk. To them, the Sussex situation, while undeniably explosive, was not yet a political emergency. But that does not mean the palace felt at ease. A deeper concern simmered beneath the still surface. The realization that the Harry and Meghan narrative had become a lightning rod for public emotion, one that could be weaponized by politicians, commentators, or public groups whenever convenient. Every rumor now had the potential to become a political football. And every political football had the potential to strain the monarchy's reputation. As the story intensified across social media, staff quietly monitored global reactions. In the United States, audiences expressed shock and confusion, with many believing the rumor outright due to the lack of official denial. In Europe, commentators questioned whether this represented a shift in Britain's political respect for its royal institutions. Within the UK itself, the reactions were divided and impassioned, some cheering what they believed was a firm stand against perceived royal disloyalty, others condemning the idea of using legislative bodies to settle personal or emotional grievances. The palace's dilemma deepened. If they spoke, they risked appearing defensive. If they remained silent, the rumor risked becoming associated with the monarchy itself. In the end, they chose silence, the same silence that has guided the monarchy through crises far more severe. Yet inside, behind the gilded ceilings and centuries-old tapestries, the atmosphere was unmistakably tense. Advisors knew that even symbolic discussions in Parliament could inflame public perception, and open questions the monarchy prefers remain closed. And so, as night fell over London and the story continued spreading around the world, Buckingham Palace held to its silence. No statements, no clarifications, only quiet observation. But that quiet carried weight. Because the palace recognizes a truth the public often forgets in the modern era. Perception can build a crisis as quickly as fact, and sometimes far more powerfully, as the rumor surged across the country. The reaction on the streets of Britain became a story of its own, a raw, emotional mirror reflecting just how deeply the saga of Harry and Meghan has embedded itself into the national psyche. Long before official voices could step forward with clarity, the public had already chosen sides, shaping their own narratives in real time. It was a collision of loyalty, disappointment, sympathy, anger, and exhaustion, all unfolding within minutes, not hours. The moment the sensational headline hit social media, conversations erupted in living rooms, taxis, classrooms, and bustling cafes, each fueled by a different sense of what the monarchy represents and what the Sussexes symbolize. For many, few fueled by a different sense of what the monarchy represents, and what the Sussexes symbolize. For many, Sussexes symbolize. For many, especially older royal loyalists, the reaction was swift and uncompromising. They believed the couple had crossed too many lines, spoken too many grievances publicly, and caused too much embarrassment to the monarchy. To them, the idea of Parliament debating their return or their continued presence in Britain was not shocking but overdue. These voices argued that the monarchy does not exist to be dissected and criticized on foreign television platforms, and that becoming public critics while keeping titles created an inconsistency impossible to ignore. These individuals did not necessarily support drastic measures, but they believed the country had a right to express its frustration in whatever form democracy permits, even symbolic proposals within Parliament. But there was another side, equally passionate, equally determined, who saw the rumor as a dangerous and deeply unjust escalation. Younger Britons, as well as many international commentators, viewed the Sussexes, particularly Meghan, through a lens of empathy shaped by years of intense media scrutiny. To them, the idea that Britain might exile the couple, even symbolically, felt like a betrayal of modern values. They insisted that no democratic nation should entertain the idea of banishing citizens for personal conflicts or public disagreements. Their comments flooded social media platforms in waves, challenging the narrative and urging people to wait for verified confirmation. What made the public response so explosive was not just the subject, Harry and Meghan themselves, but the speed at which emotion turned into certainty. Within minutes, hashtags demanding justice for the couple trended alongside those calling for accountability. The nation became a digital battleground where every post, every opinion, every video clip was treated as evidence. Rumor felt like reality because people believed it. Not because it was true, but because it fit into the emotional story each person carried, even those who typically avoided. Royal discussions found themselves drawn into debates. Among immigrant communities, the conversation centered around fairness and the legal impossibility of such an act. They pointed out how easily public frustration can evolve into political spectacle. Among older communities, the tone was more reflective. Many spoke about the ways the monarchy once represented cohesion and were now grappling with how quickly public trust can erode in a world governed by headlines, leaks, and viral narratives. They saw a symbolic vote, true or not, as evidence of national exhaustion, the product of years spent dissecting every interview, memoir, and podcast the Sussexes contributed to the global stage. In workplaces across the UK, ordinary citizens exchanged opinions between tasks, debating the appropriate role of government in royal affairs. Some argued that the Sussex drama, amplified through documentaries and bestsellers, had become a cultural phenomenon that naturally demanded political attention. Others insisted that the government should never allow itself to be dragged into family drama, no matter how global that family may be. The division extended far beyond Britain's borders. In the United States, major commentators expressed disbelief that Parliament would even entertain such a notion. American viewers have long viewed Meghan as a figure who faced relentless scrutiny for stepping into an ancient institution with rigid traditions. The idea of exile struck many as archaic, nearly medieval. Meanwhile, Commonwealth nations watched with quiet scrutiny, wondering what this rumor revealed about the deeper fractures within the broader royal structure. Back in the UK, as reactions intensified, the mood became even more polarized. For some, the rumor proved that Parliament, or at least a faction within it, had become increasingly bold in its willingness to address issues involving the Sussexes. For others, it was a chilling reminder of how quickly Misinformation can transform into perceived reality when it aligns with long-festering public emotions. In the middle of all this chaos were the moderates people, who felt neither hostility nor fierce loyalty. They viewed the situation as yet another addition to the seemingly endless cycle of royal headlines. What troubled them most was not the rumor itself, but what it revealed about modern society. How could a single unverified claim spark such immediate division? How could people so readily believe a narrative without waiting for proof? How could a symbolic political gesture become interpreted as a historical act? It was a reminder that the saga of Harry and Meghan has grown beyond itself. It has become a national lens, a way for people to project their frustrations, their values, their fears, and their hopes onto two individuals who continue to represent far more than their roles within the monarchy. Every rumor,